Hello, welcome from a tutorial that is part of a project of Technical Language 1 from University of San Carlos from Guatemala. Well, now we are going to talk about the principal instructions for the programming language called Java. We are going to start with the primitive data types. The Java programming language is statically typed, which means that little variable must first be declared before they can be used. The 8 primitive data types supported by the Java programming language are byte, short, int, long, float, double, boolean, and char. To explain more efficient the uses of Java language, we are going to use the environment of NetBeans IDE 7.4. That is an environment to use the Java language. Well, we was talking about the variables and how can be declared. We are talking about some types of variables. For example, we have integer, boolean, string, double, and float. When we declare a variable, we have to write first the type of the variable. For example, for integer, there are integers. First we write int and then the name of the variable. For example, var1. And we can assign it a value. For example, equal to 10. Boolean are variables that have the value true or false. For example, boolean var2 equal true. Then we have strings that are variables that can use any alphanumeric value. For example, var3 equal to hello. And then we have double that can contains values from any decimal. For example, var4 equal to 1.2456789 and float that may contain any variable, any number equal 45. When we end a statement in Java, we have to write dot and comma because it means that the statement is finished in this point. Now we are going to talk about the data output. Output is any information that the program must show to the user. When we talk about data output, it means that the computer is going to show some information or data to the user. To that, we are going to use the system.out.print or .println. Any of that is useful. For example, if we want to show the value of the var1, we can show it into the same form. System.out.print parentheses and then into the parentheses the value or the variable that we want to show. For example, var1 dot and comma. if we see the result, we have a 10. That is the value that have the var 1. Then we can talk about that the data input. Input is any information that is needed by your program to complete its execution. When we want to input data into Java, we first have to import one superclass, the java.io.*. First, the reserved word import, and it is going to help us to import some functions of methods in Java. Well, to establish a statement to input data, we first have to create an object that has to be called a buffer reader. After to establish a buffer reader, we have to write some instructions for Java. We are going to establish the try with keys and catch with an exception that is called that we are going to call if keys, and that's all. We have to write our code into the try and in the middle of try and catch keys. Well, we are going to establish our buffer reader with the follow way, with no slashes. Buffer reader dir buffer reader, the name of our buffer reader, equal to a new buffer reader of a new input stream reader of the system dot in. Buffer reader is the instruction or method in Java that is going to create a new method that help us to input data. In this case, is going to be called beer. Well, now we are going to input data into a new variable that is going to call int var x dot and comma, because it has no value yet, and we are going to give it a value. For example, we are going to do it in the following way. Var x is equal to our variable is integer, and then we are going to write to convert the data that is going to be typed in the console to integer dot parse int from the br dot read line. It means the data that is going to be typed into the space in our console. It is ready. We are going to run the application. Well, now we have in our console the space to write something, to introduce a value in our variable. our variable is an integer type, and we have to write some number the type integer. For example, 15. We type enter, and then our variable has the value of 15. How can we know that? We are going to show the result with a system.out.println and the var x, as we do it before in the output data. Well, we run our application. Then we have the space, we write a number, for example 15, enter, and then the application shows us that the var x has the 15 value. Now we are going to talk about the conditionals, that are structures that permit to the application to take a decision by a condition. For example, we are going to talk about if else. We establish into the same form, we write the word if, then into parentheses the condition, then keys, into that keys the code to execute if the condition is true, then a word that will be else, that means the thing that will happen if the condition is false, keys, and then into the keys of else the code to execute if the condition is false. We are going to see an example to use if else conditionals that is very simple and basic, but we are going to understand better that. Well, we are going to use the last example of the var x, but we are going to introduce the if else. We are going to erase the last statement. Well, in the last example we made a variable that we give the value of the variable. Well, now we are going to show something more specific, because if we type into the var x a value bigger than 10, the application is going to tell us that the number typed is bigger than 10, and if it is smaller than 10, we just have to write the condition. We write the word if, then into parentheses the condition. The condition is that var x bigger than 10 if var x bigger than 10 keys the code. The answer is going to be a system.out.println that we are going to say. If we want to show text, the text has to be into commas that is going to say the number type is bigger than 10. Then comma, then after the keys we type else keys, and then if var x is smaller than 10, the application is going to write a system.out.println that is going to say the number type is smaller than 10. Well, that's the conditional, and now we run the program. We have the space to type something. We are going to type 12, enter, and the application says the number typed is bigger than 10, because the conditional was when the variable was bigger than 10. We are going to run it again. We are going to type 8, enter, and the application says the number typed is smaller than 10, because the number that we typed was better than 10, and the if doesn't success, then the else typed the new message. To talk about the cycle 4, we have to know the parts to establish the instruction of that. For example, we write the word for, then into parentheses it has 3 statements. The initialization, that is going to be a counter variable into the cycle, the condition that the cycle has to have for the cycle going to be in this way into the sentences of in the middle of the keys. It's going to be a flow into that is going to repeat one another time, since the condition is not complete, and then it's going to be an increment or decrement process with the variable that we are going to choose. We are going to see a little example to use the cycle 4 with our var x variable that we was using in the last example. Well, we are going to introduce the number 1, and the application is going to show the numbers between 1 and 20. We are going to use a for cycle because it will be a very most quickly form of to do it. Well, we use the instruction for, then into parentheses the first we declare the counter variable int. In the majority of cases we are going to call it I equal to 1, because it is the initialization of the buckle or cycle. Then comma, then the condition will be that var x has to be minor or smaller than 20. Then comma, and then the increment will be I plus plus. What it means? The plus plus means that the counter, that is I, is going to increment into one value one time the buckle is in the process. Then keys, and in the middle of the keys the statements. The statements will do the next instructions. We show the numbers with a system.out.println, and in the middle we're going to write number points, and then we're going to concatenate that to join. We join things in Java with the symbol plus, just one plus, concat joined with the value of the bar x in that month. Well, that is a cycle. We don't do something here. We have to establish a condition to break the cycle, because if we don't do it, the cycle will be indefinite. Well, we are going to establish the condition with if we're going to say if bar x double equal to comparison to 20, then we are going to break the cycle, just the reserved word break, and else if it is not true it will be nothing. Well, we just have a little error here. We have to write bar x here and not the counter. Here bar x, because bar x is the value in the middle of 1 and 20. Well, now we run the application, we type 1, enter, and that's it. The values in the middle of 1 and 19 or 20. Now we're going to talk about the methods. Methods are a piece of code that we can use in our applications. The advantage of the methods is that we create very big instructions like functions in other language program, but in Java they are called methods, and we can call it in different times, or we can invoke when we need it. It resumes some codes. Well, to create a method we have to type the modifier first. There are some reserved words that modify the nature of our method, the name of the method, then into parentheses the parameters that our method is going to need, and then keys, and into the keys the code that our method will be the process. We are going to see a little example of how we can use methods. Well, the last 4, I think, examples that we talked about previously was made in our principal method. Our principal method was with the word main, because when we run the application in NetBeans, the environment or the Java compilator look for the main class, that is the principal method. It has its modifiers, that is public. It means that it can be used in any part, it can be included in any part. Static, because it don't move of this project. Void, because it will be show some null data or alphanumeric data. Main, because it's the name of the method, the principal method in the class, and the parameters are string args. What it means? Arguments, the type string, any type of arguments. Well, we are going to create a little method that is going to show some messages like the system.out.println, but we are going to make our proper system.out. Well, to create a method, we want to create it out of the main method. Well, we start with the modifiers. It will be static, because it's not going to move of this class. Void, because it's going to return just null data. The number of that, it will be message. The parameter will be parameters of type string, and the parameters, it will be an X. Then keys, and in the middle of the keys we are going to type the statement. The statement, it will be that a simple system.out.println with the parameter X that we are going to write. That comma, and then, well, to use it, we are going to create in the main class, into the try and catch, after the buffer reader BR, we are going to establish a new variable of type string. We're going to call var y. Then comma, we assign a value var y equal to br dot read line. It doesn't necessary to type the conversion, because our variable is a string type, and the string type is null. Well, then we are going to show the thing that we write previously. We type introduce into var y in the console, but we are not going to write system.out.println. We are going to invoke our method. The name of the method is message, parenthesis, the parameter that is of type string. The parameter will be var y, and then that uncomment. Well, that is it. We're going to run our application. The space to write, we are going to write hello world, enter, and our method show us the thing that we write previously. Well, we can write something to even within a variable. For example, message hello world, then message it was all, then message thanks to hear us. We run our application and it was hello world, it was all, thanks to hear us. Well, that's the way we finally ends this tutorial to the project for Technical Language 1 of a handbook of Java language programming. Thanks to hear us.